precious child, open this now. Do not scroll past. Do not delay this moment as if it were ordinary. Because what I am about to reveal is not a gentle suggestion. It is a divine interruption. I was shocked by the way you loved your soulmate, and heaven itself has been watching in stunned silence. There is a rule that has governed human love for generations, and your love broke it. Listen closely to my whisper. I have seen you in the heavy, silent hours of the night when the world is asleep. But your heart is wide awake, pulsating with a love that felt like a burden too great to carry alone. I have watched you pour out the very essence of your soul into a vessel that seemed unable to hold it. And I have seen the way you retreated into the shadows, not out of weakness, but out of a profound, sacred dignity. My beloved, most people break the rule of heaven in the same way. They abandon themselves to keep love. They trade peace for attention. They trade clarity for connection. They call anxiety love and confusion destiny. They chase, they beg, they collapse. They perform their pain for validation. That is the pattern the world repeats. But you did something heaven does not see often in human form. You loved deeply, and you did not lose yourself. You did not turn love into control. You did not turn silence into punishment. You did not play games to be chosen. You honored your own soul while loving another. And that is why the unseen realms paused. Because your love did not become desperation. It became alignment. My beloved, you must understand that your journey to this moment, to this specific message, is not a coincidence of an algorithm or a stroke of random luck. It is a divine appointment, a celestial convergence designed specifically for you. Heaven itself has stood in awe, watching the way you navigate the labyrinth of your emotions, marveling at the purity of a heart that refuses to turn cold despite the winters it has endured. I am here to tell you that the silent echoes of your prayers and the quiet rhythm of your sacrifices have resonated through the highest corridors of my kingdom. Before I reveal the profound secret of why all of heaven is in shock because of you, I want you to acknowledge this divine connection. Do not let this moment pass by as if it were ordinary. If you feel my presence stirring within your spirit, if you know in the depths of your being that I am speaking directly to you, then declare your presence before the throne. Type, "I am here, Lord," or 7007 in the comments right now. Not because a comment controls your destiny, but because a declaration anchors your heart. It marks the moment you decide, I will receive truth without fear. I will stay aligned. I will not shrink. I will not chase. As we begin this sacred journey together, I invite you to join this family of chosen souls who are walking the path of light and healing. Press the like button on this message and subscribe to this channel as a physical act of agreement with the frequency of heaven. When you do this, you are telling the universe that you choose faith over fear and love over loneliness. By becoming part of this spiritual community, you ensure that you will never have to walk this path in isolation again. Let your light be a beacon of light that tells me you are in alignment with the shift that is already taking place inside you. Today, the mystery of your endurance begins to unfold, and the reason why the angels have been watching you in stunned silence will finally be made clear. Because your love did not just touch a human heart. It challenged a pattern that even heaven has observed for generations. Your love broke heaven's rule, my child. Not by being louder than others, but by being purer than the world expected. My beloved child, I have watched as you stood at the threshold of another soul's darkness, holding a lantern of hope that they were not yet ready to see. I saw you when you chose to love them, not for what they could give you, but for the human truth you recognized beneath their defenses. You did not romanticize what was broken. You did not paint over the cracks and call it destiny. You saw both the light and the shadow, and still you treated them gently. And when your heart reached out to touch their wounds and they pulled away in fear and confusion, you did not turn away in anger. You did not demand that they change to suit your needs, nor did you try to force open doors they had bolted shut. You understood, in a way that many cannot comprehend, that their silence was not always a rejection of you, but often a reflection of their own unfinished healing. You held space without trying to own them. You honored the dignity of their timeline, even when your own heart felt ready long before circumstances aligned. You have learned the difficult art of loving without chains, of offering a sanctuary without building a prison. I saw you when you felt the urge to fix them, to mend every broken piece of their spirit with your own hands, and yet you restrained yourself. You realized that to possess them would be to extinguish the very light you were trying to protect. You did not become their savior. You remained a steady mirror, calm, honest, and emotionally mature, reflecting what love looks like when it is clean. You saw their scars, those deep, jagged marks left by past storms and ancient sorrows. And instead of judging their jagged edges, you offered the softness of your presence. Yet hear me clearly. Compassion did not become self-neglect. You did not call inconsistency mystery. You did not call disrespect a lesson you must endure. You noticed patterns. You listened to energy more than excuses. You honored your boundaries even when your heart wanted to cross them, because you understood that love is not proven by how much pain you can tolerate. And this is what heaven noticed most. You did not confuse intensity with intimacy. You learned that real love feels calm in the body, not anxious. It steadies your breathing. It does not keep your nervous system on constant alert. There were moments when your chest tightened and your mind searched for certainty. And you could have chased clarity, chased reassurance, chased a label to quiet your fear. But you chose regulation over reaction. You chose prayer over panic. You chose grounded presence over emotional chaos. You stepped back, not in abandonment, but in holy release, trusting me to handle what your hands could not reach. You allowed space to reveal truth. You allowed time to speak. That self-restraint is not weakness. It is mastery. It is the mark of a soul that knows true power is the ability to love deeply without losing clarity, and to remain open without abandoning itself. There is a sacred power in the way you have navigated this connection, a power that comes from a soul that knows its own source. I saw the tears you shed when you realized that your love could not be a substitute for their own healing. And I saw the strength it took to stop carrying what was never yours to carry. You have shown them a glimpse of unconditional love. But you did not make unconditional access your standard. You proved you are not merely a seeker of affection, but a distributor of my light. And you did it with wisdom. You are not losing them. You are refusing to lose yourself. And as you remain faithful to your own worth, I will work in the space you have created. Not to reward desperation, but to honor alignment. My precious one, I have watched you navigate the corridors of misunderstanding with a grace that few possess. There were times when words of defense were at the tip of your tongue, when you had every right to explain your side, to expose the truth, or to demand the respect you so rightfully deserve. Yet, you chose the path of the quiet spirit. I saw you in those moments when your character was questioned and your intentions were twisted. And instead of engaging in a war of words to protect your image, you surrendered your reputation into my hands. You understood that those who are committed to misunderstanding you will never be convinced by your explanations. And so you chose the sacred weight of silence. Hear this clearly. Your silence was never a punishment. It was never a weapon. It was never a game. It was sacred listening, alignment, self-respect in motion. You did not withdraw affection to gain control. You did not create distance to provoke chasing. You simply chose peace over performance, and heaven watched in awe. I have seen the way you refuse to perform your pain for the world to see. In an age where many broadcast their wounds to seek the hollow comfort of pity, you chose to bring your brokenness only to me. You did not go searching for validation in the eyes of those who hurt you, nor did you try to manipulate their guilt to gain their attention. You did not chase closure like a desperate bargain. You allowed reality to speak for itself. You chose dignity over desperation. You chose to keep your head held high even when your heart was heavy with the weight of being unseen. And you did something rare. You remained consistent. You did not play emotional chess. You did not test love by creating confusion. You stayed honest, steady, and clean, because you knew that love that is real does not require constant explanation, and love that is aligned does not require you to abandon your soul to keep it. Now pause for a moment and recognize the miracle that is currently beating within your chest. Place your hand over your heart. Close your eyes and feel that steady rhythm. Breathe slowly and notice what happens in your body when you stop trying to control the outcome. Feel the difference between anxiety and truth. Anxiety rushes, tightens, demands. Truth settles, steadies, regulates. You have survived the fire without smelling like smoke because you learned how to be alone without being lonely. Your solitude did not destroy you, it trained you. It taught your nervous system that peace is allowed. It taught your spirit that you do not need to be chosen by unstable hands when you are already held by me. And I tell you this, you do not need closure to be steady. You do not need certainty to be whole. You are being prepared for a love that matches the depth of your soul. A love that will never require you to shrink yourself, beg for clarity, or sacrifice your peace to be understood. My child, do not be surprised by the intensity of the friction you have felt lately. When you carry a frequency of truth and peace, your presence becomes a mirror, and mirrors create resistance, not because you are wrong, but because what you reflect is real. There are hearts that have survived by staying guarded, and when your gentleness approaches them, it confronts their defenses. This is why it has felt so intense. Not everyone knows how to receive love that is calm, clean, and honest. Many only recognize love when it comes with chaos. But you are different. You did not bring confusion into their life. You brought clarity, and clarity can feel threatening to a soul that is still attached to old patterns. Now listen carefully. The resistance you feel is not only spiritual, it is also nervous system level. Your body has been learning something holy. You have been learning that love is not supposed to keep you in survival mode. Real love does not keep your chest tight, your mind racing, your heart bracing for the next shift. Real love steadies the breath. It softens the stomach. It calms the pulse. And every time you are met with coldness, mixed signals, or silence, you were given a choice: to spiral or to regulate, to chase or to return to center, to react from old wounds or to respond from wholeness. And you chose wholeness. That is why heaven noticed you. Understand this. Your silence has never been an absence of action. It has been alignment. It has been restraint. It has been wisdom. You are not silent to punish anyone. You are not silent to manipulate a reaction. You are not silent to play games or pull strings. You are silent because your spirit refused to become chaotic. You refused to trade your peace for temporary control. You refuse to become the version of yourself that panics for reassurance. You let your steadiness speak louder than your explanations. That is not weakness, my child. That is emotional maturity. That is spiritual authority expressed through calm. I have seen how people in situations tried to bait you into a version of yourself you have already outgrown, the one who would over-explain, over-give, overextend, and then collapse when it was not reciprocated. But instead, they met a fortress of serenity. Not coldness, serenity. Not detachment, regulation. You learned to step back without resentment. You learned to pause without bitterness. You learned to hold love without clinging. And in that space, you protected both the connection and your own inner balance. You began to understand that your reaction to an event can hurt more than the event itself. So you chose to remain centered in my love. You chose to breathe instead of break. You chose to pray instead of perform. Every time you were ignored, every time your kindness was taken for granted, and every time you felt the sting of isolation, you were passing a test of endurance, but not the kind that destroys you, the kind that strengthens you. Real blessings, the ones that change generations, require a heart that cannot be shaken by inconsistency. They require a mind that does not confuse uncertainty with destiny. They require a spirit that can hold patience without becoming powerless. This resistance is not proof that you are failing. It is proof that you are refining. You are becoming fireproof. Not because you stopped feeling, but because you stopped letting feelings drive the wheel. And here is the lie you must reject. The whisper that says you are being abandoned, that your love is being wasted, that your tenderness has made you foolish. No, my child. Your love did not make you foolish. Your love made you aware. Your love trained you to discern. It trained you to recognize what is consistent and what is merely intense. It trained you to value peace in your body as much as passion in your heart. It trained you to trust that what is aligned will never require you to abandon yourself. So stand tall in this season, not with noise, with steadiness, not with striving, with clarity. You are not behind. You are being built, and you do not need to force a breakthrough to prove I am with you. Your calm is already proof. Your regulated spirit is already victory. If you want to make a simple declaration of alignment right now, type, "I am protected," or 888. Not to earn anything, just to mark this moment where you choose peace over panic, truth over fear, and wholeness over chasing. My beloved, let me reveal the true reason why the hosts of heaven stood in stunned silence as they watched your life unfold. In a world where love is so often confused with desperation, and where many believe that to love someone means to lose oneself, you did something extraordinary. You loved with an intensity that burned like 1,000 suns. Yet you did not allow that fire to consume the sacred house I built within you. Most souls, when they encounter the silence of a beloved or the coldness of a partner, begin to crumble from within. They chase, they plead, they bargain away their dignity, and they sell their peace just for a fleeting moment of hollow validation. But you stood your ground. You offered your heart on a golden platter, but when it was not received with the honor it deserved, you did not throw it on the ground in despair or beg for it to be taken. You simply brought it back to the secret place, to me. Heaven was shocked because you mastered the rarest balance. The ability to love another soul deeply without ever abandoning your own. I have watched you maintain your boundaries even when the weight of your heart was screaming for you to break them. There were nights when the urge to reach out, to beg for an answer, or to demand an explanation from those who walked away was nearly overwhelming. Yet, in those moments of extreme pressure, you remembered who you are. You remembered that you are a child of the Most High, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, and a treasure of my own making. The angels marveled because they saw you prioritize the health of your own soul over the desperate desire for an earthly attachment. You understood that a love that requires you to shrink, to hide your light, or to compromise your values is not the love I have ordained for you. By choosing to walk in your self-worth, you signaled to the entire spiritual realm that you are ready for a higher frequency of existence. You proved that you are no longer a slave to your emotions, but a master of your spirit. This act of self-respect is a form of worship that resonates louder through the heavens than any song or sacrifice. This is why I have commanded you to guard your heart above all else, for from it flow the well springs of life. You have taken this ancient truth and lived it out in the middle of a modern fire. You did not let the bitterness of the world poison your spring, and you did not let the neglect of others turn your heart into a desert. You kept the waters of your spirit pure, even when others tried to muddy them with their confusion and their own unhealed shadow. By guarding your heart, you have protected the very seeds of the destiny I have placed within you. Heaven is in awe of your maturity, for you have realized that your capacity to love is a divine gift that must be protected, not a commodity to be wasted on those who are not yet ready to steward such a precious thing. You have passed the ultimate test of the soul, the test of keeping your inner light bright while standing in the middle of a dark and silent season. Because you did not abandon yourself, I will never allow the promise of true love to abandon you. My child, you must understand a profound truth that will liberate your soul from the weight of responsibility you have been carrying. You were never sent into their life to be their savior. I am the only savior. And when you try to take my place, you only find yourself exhausted and broken. I sent you into their world not to fix their shattered pieces, but to be a divine mirror. And the reason this assignment has felt so heavy is because a mirror does not argue with what it reflects. A mirror does not plead with darkness. A mirror simply stands, clear, still, and honest. And that honesty can feel unbearable to a soul that has survived by avoiding itself. You see, when someone is lost in their own darkness, they often use the noise of conflict, the heat of arguments, or the distraction of your emotional reactions to avoid looking at themselves. They prefer intensity over intimacy because intensity keeps the nervous system activated and distracted, while intimacy requires stillness, presence, and truth. But you did something different. You withdrew the noise. You stopped the chasing. You ceased the pleading. And in that void of your silence, they were suddenly forced to stand face to face with their own reflection. Your peace became a confrontation for their chaos. Your stability became a reminder of their instability. This is why they may have reacted with fear or distance. It wasn't you they were running from, but the truth they saw reflected in the clarity of your soul. And hear me clearly, my child, your silence was not punishment. It was not a cold tactic. It was not emotional withholding. It was not a game designed to make them miss you, chase you, or prove themselves. You did not disappear to manipulate. You did not retreat to control. You did not weaponize quietness to punish what hurt you. Your silence was sacred. Listening, discernment, regulation, restraint. It was the decision to stop leaking your wounds onto someone else. It was the decision to stop performing pain for validation. It was the decision to step out of emotional chaos and return to alignment. That kind of silence is not absence. It is maturity. When you remain still and refuse to engage in the old patterns of desperation, you act as a holy surface upon which the truth is projected. I have watched you hold your position with such poise that the other person had nowhere to hide from their own shadows. Because you did not jump into the fire to rescue them, they finally had to feel the heat of their own choices. This is the highest form of love. A love that is strong enough to let someone experience the consequences of their actions so that they might truly wake up. You have been a quiet light, and light does not need to shout to dispel darkness. It simply needs to exist. By being a mirror, you have done more for their spiritual evolution in your silence than you ever could have done with 1,000 sermons or 1,000,000 tears. But I also want you to remember this. Compassion is not self-neglect. You can understand their wounds without offering yourself as a place for them to bleed. You can recognize their confusion without tolerating inconsistency that destabilizes your peace. You can hold tenderness without sacrificing your dignity. You did not confuse empathy with obligation. You did not confuse patience with permission for disrespect. You did not confuse potential with reality. You did not place them on a pedestal and call it devotion. You did not idolize them beyond what they were able to carry. You saw them as human, flaws, fears, unfinished healing, and you still treated them gently. Yet you did not abandon yourself in the process. That balance is rare, my child. That is advanced love. That is why heaven studied your way of loving. And this is what makes you a true mirror. You did not try to reshape them into your expectations. You did not lecture them into transformation. You did not force clarity with constant questions. You did not demand labels to soothe anxiety. You did not beg for reassurance. You allowed space to reveal truth. You trusted that what is real does not require constant explanation. You understood that if a connection is aligned, it will not require you to abandon your soul just to keep it alive. That trust is not naive, it is sacred. It is the kind of self-respect that heaven honors. My child, there is also something deeper happening in your body. Do not ignore this. You are learning the difference between love and attachment, between peace and anxiety. True love feels calm in the body, not anxious. It steadies the breath. It does not keep your chest tight. It does not keep your mind racing in circles. It does not keep your nervous system bracing for the next shift. And there were moments when uncertainty tried to pull you into survival mode. Moments when your heart wanted to text, explain, prove, clarify, chase. But you chose regulation over reaction. You chose to breathe instead of break. You chose to process in silence rather than perform your pain for validation. You chose to return to center rather than chase control. And each time you did that, you strengthened your inner authority. That is why your stillness had power. Your steadiness created a frequency that exposed what was inconsistent. Your calm presence became a standard, a reference point, a quiet memory their soul will carry. Even if their mind resisted, their spirit recognized something real. Souls always recognize what is real. And what you offered was not a performance, it was integrity. You loved without ego. You loved without chains. You loved without games. You loved without losing yourself. If you believe in your spirit that you are a chosen one, a soul sent to this earth to carry the light of healing and the power of divine reflection, then do not hesitate to affirm this truth. Like this video right now and subscribe to this channel to join our global family of light bearers. By pressing that like button, you are signaling to heaven that you accept your role as a divine mirror and that you are ready to walk in the authority I have given you. This is not just a digital interaction. It is an act of alignment with your higher purpose. When you subscribe, you are telling the universe that you are committed to your own growth and the healing of others through the power of my word. And do not let the enemy, or even your own fear, convince you that your quiet presence is a lack of influence. On the contrary, your stillness is your greatest strength. Not because you are cold, but because you are clear. Not because you stopped loving, but because you stopped abandoning yourself. Your silence did not mean you did not care. It meant you refused to turn love into chaos. It meant you refused to chase a version of love that would cost you your peace. It meant you trusted that what is aligned will remain, and what is not will fall away naturally. By standing back and allowing the space between you to remain empty of your frantic energy, you have permitted my spirit to enter that gap. I am working in the places you cannot see, touching the parts of their heart that you could never reach. Your refusal to play the victim or the villain has left them with only one person to account for: themselves. This is the sacred work of the mirror. You have protected your own energy while providing them with the ultimate opportunity for self-correction. And hear this, my child. You do not need closure to be steady. You do not need certainty to be whole. You do not need to force an ending to prove the love was real. Sometimes love transforms form. Sometimes it becomes wisdom. Sometimes it becomes a lesson that elevates you rather than a story that completes you. You are not here to cling to outcomes. You are here to stay aligned with truth. Whether the path continues together or evolves into something higher, your soul remains untouched by regret because you loved consciously. You loved bravely. You loved with dignity. You are not cold. You are consecrated. You are not indifferent. You are intentional. As you continue to reflect my peace, watch how the atmosphere around you begins to shift. Those who are ready for the truth will be drawn to your light, and those who are not will be moved out of your way. Trust the reflection, for it is doing a work that words can never accomplish. You have done your part with excellence, and now the mirror is doing the rest. Quietly, powerfully, faithfully, until truth is seen clearly by every soul involved. I want you to see what I see from the vantage point of eternity, far above the constraints of minutes and hours. Every time you chose to breathe instead of scream, every time you chose to walk away instead of chase, and every time you chose to prioritize your peace over their chaos, you were not just making a temporary decision. You were literally rewiring the spiritual timelines of your entire existence. You were rewriting the agreement your nervous system once made with fear. An old agreement that said, if I don't chase, I will lose. If I don't explain, I will be forgotten. If I don't prove my love, I will not be chosen. But you broke that contract. You chose regulation over reaction. You chose steadiness over emotional chaos. And when you did more than change your mood. You changed your pattern, and patterns are what build destiny. You see, the enemy had planned for you to remain trapped in a loop of repetitive pain. A cycle where you would always be the one begging, always be the one waiting, and always be the one feeling not enough. But by the power of my spirit, you snapped that thread. By choosing your dignity, you have jumped from a path of scarcity to a path of divine abundance. You have shifted the trajectory of your entire life. And even the lives of those who will come after you. The version of your future that was once filled with endless tears and unrequited longing has been dissolved, replaced by a radiant timeline where you are the prize, where you are the one who is cherished, and where your love is met with a depth that matches your own. You have redirected the flow of your life's river, and the landscape of your future is already beginning to bloom with beauty you haven't even dared to imagine yet. But listen closely, my child. The rewiring did not happen only in the spirit. It happened in your body. It happened in the moment your chest tightened and you still chose to breathe. It happened in the moment your mind raced for clarity and you still chose calm. It happened when you felt the urge to send one more message, explain one more time, soften one more boundary, and you chose to return to yourself instead. That is sacred rewiring. That is you teaching your inner world. Love is not meant to keep me in survival mode. That is you learning that true love feels calm in the body, not anxious. It steadies the breath. It does not keep the nervous system on constant alert. And because you honored that truth, you moved into a timeline where peace becomes the standard, not the reward you beg for. Do not be deceived by what your physical eyes tell you in this present moment. You may look at the silence or the distance between you and think that nothing has changed. But I tell you, the spiritual shift has already occurred. The seeds of awareness you planted through your self-respect have been buried deep into the soil of the other soul's conscience. They are currently in a state of divine confusion because the old you, the version of you they thought they could predict and control, no longer exists. By changing your frequency and elevating your self-worth, you have forced a reconfiguration of their entire reality. Even if they are trying to ignore the shift, the atmosphere around them has changed because your energy is no longer there to fuel their ego or provide them with an unearned safety net. And hear me clearly, your silence was not punishment. It was not manipulation. It was not a game of withdrawal to force chasing. It was not emotional chess. You did not withhold affection to gain control. You did not create distance to provoke a reaction. Your silence was sacred listening, discernment, self-respect in motion. It was you refusing to leak wounds onto someone else. It was you refusing to perform pain for validation. It was you choosing to remain consistent, clean, and anchored even when someone else was inconsistent. That is why your silence carried power. Because it was not empty. It was aligned. You have planted seeds of awakening that will visit their quiet moments, whispering of the treasure they failed to honor. You have restructured the architecture of what is possible, moving this journey out of the realm of human dysfunction and into the realm of my perfect sovereign timing. And yet, I must say this with precision. Your power is not in controlling whether they wake up. Your power is in refusing to abandon yourself while you wait for truth to reveal itself. You are no longer attached to an outcome. You are committed to integrity. You are no longer begging to be chosen. You are standing in the truth that you already have value before anyone confirms it. I saw you when you felt like your silence was a waste of time, when you feared that your absence would only lead to being forgotten. But I tell you, that silence was the very language of your soul's promotion. It was the exact moment the old, weary timeline reached its dead end and the new, glorious path opened wide. You have moved into a sacred space where you are no longer a spectator of your life, but a co-creator with the divine. The vibration of your newfound self-worth has sent ripples across the ocean of time, reaching back to heal the hidden wounds of your younger self and reaching forward to secure the blessings of your future self. You have broken the generational curse of chasing what was never meant to hold you. And in doing so, you have freed yourself from a destiny of almost. You are no longer romanticizing inconsistency. You are no longer calling mixed signals mystery. You are no longer confusing intensity with intimacy. You are no longer treating anxiety as proof of love. You are choosing what is stable. You are choosing what is mutual. You are choosing what does not cost you your peace. And now, my child, I am currently aligning the stars of your destiny to match the powerful person you have become through this fire. The waiting you are experiencing is not a delay of my promise. It is the time required for the physical world to catch up to the spiritual reality you have already birthed through your faith. Be still and know this. The old path is closed forever. Not because you hate them, but because you love yourself too deeply to return to a timeline that required self-abandonment. And the road ahead is paved with the gold of my favor. Favor that does not demand you beg for clarity, force closure, or chase what is meant to come freely. You are being guided into a future where love meets you in peace, not in panic. In consistency, not confusion. In truth, not tension. My beloved, pay close attention to the shifting of the winds. For within the next 7 to 21 days, a divine phenomenon will begin to unfold in the heart of the one you have loved so silently. And hear me carefully when I say this. This is not a countdown for you to obsess over, nor a clock for you to stare at in anxiety. It is a window of movement, an unfolding, because awakening is not mechanical. It is organic. It comes in waves. It comes in quiet realizations that build upon each other. So do not treat these days as a test you must pass or a deadline you must force. Treat them as a sacred season where truth begins to rise to the surface. Until now, they have survived on the overflow of your energy, taking for granted the light you provided and the peace you maintained. But because you have stepped back and reclaimed your power, they are entering a season of a great divine void. This absence of your energy is not a punishment I have sent, but a necessary vacuum I have created so that they may finally hear the sound of their own soul. In the coming days, they will begin to feel a restlessness that they cannot explain with logic. The distractions they use to avoid their feelings will start to lose their flavor. The silence you have maintained will begin to speak louder to them than any words you ever uttered. And let me clarify again, my child. Your silence is not a weapon. You are not using quiet to manipulate them. You are not playing games to provoke regret. You are not withholding to control. Your silence is sacred. It is restraint. It is regulation. It is you refusing to trade your peace for temporary reassurance. And because your silence is clean, it carries a different kind of power. It becomes a mirror they cannot easily escape. They will start to encounter memories of your kindness in the most unexpected moments. A scent, a song, or a sudden flash of your face in their dreams. This is the beginning of their awakening. A moment of profound realization where they see the depth of what they have overlooked. Yet, do not misunderstand the process. Awakening does not always look like immediate confession. Sometimes it begins as discomfort. Sometimes it begins as quiet regret. Sometimes it begins as the nervous system finally realizing what safety felt like when you were present, and what emptiness feels like when you are no longer supplying stability for them. That contrast becomes instruction. I am moving behind the scenes to bring about a spirit of repentance and a clarity of sight that only comes through the experience of loss. I have heard the cry of your heart for restoration, and I am the God who answers by fire. I tell you today, I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten, the years of your silent tears, your wasted efforts, and your unreciprocated devotion. The time you thought you lost while waiting for them to wake up is being redeemed by my hand. I am taking the fragments of your broken expectations and weaving them into a new garment of glory. But listen with maturity, my beloved. Restoration does not always mean returning to the exact same form. Sometimes I restore by bringing truth where there was confusion. Sometimes I restore by bringing dignity where there was self-abandonment. Sometimes I restore by returning your peace to you. Sometimes I restore by elevating a connection into something healthier, or by releasing you into a love that matches you without requiring you to shrink. You are not attached to an outcome. You are committed to integrity, and integrity is always rewarded. Whether the path continues together or transforms into something higher. In this window of 7 to 21 days, I am stripping away the scales from their eyes so they can see you not through the lens of their fear or ego, but through the lens of the truth. They will begin to recognize the divine origin of the love you offered, and the weight of their own choices will lead them toward a path of internal reckoning. But do not interfere with this process. Do not reach out to ease their discomfort. Do not rescue them from the very growth they must walk through. Do not become their savior. You were never assigned to carry their healing. This discomfort is the tool I am using to bring them back to themselves, so that if they return to you, it will not be from dependency, but from awakened truth. And as you wait, guard your own inner world. Do not let anticipation become anxiety. Do not let hope become obsession. Remember what you have learned. Real love feels calm in the body, not anxious. If your peace disappears, you are no longer waiting in faith. You are waiting in fear. So breathe. Return to center. Let your nervous system learn that silence is safe. Let your body learn that you do not need constant updates to remain whole. Your steadiness is your authority. Your role in this season is to remain in a state of holy expectation. Expectation rooted in peace, not panic. Trust that the seeds of awareness you planted with your dignity are germinating in the dark. Just as a seed must rot before it can sprout, their old way of being must crumble so that a new heart can emerge. I am doing a work that is deep and permanent, not a superficial change that will fade when the next storm comes. I am aligning their spirit with the frequency of your growth. And my child, I must say this with tenderness, you do not need closure to be steady. You do not need to know exactly how the story ends in order to stay aligned. Some connections are honored for what they awaken, even if they do not remain in the same shape forever. You can allow memory without turning it into longing. You can care without chasing. You can love without clinging. That is the mark of a chosen soul. If you believe that I am working right now to reconcile what was lost and to bring beauty out of the ashes of your sacrifice, do not keep this faith to yourself. Type I believe or 777 to affirm your trust in my perfect timing. Not because a comment controls your miracle, but because your declaration anchors your soul in peace. You have passed the test of the waiting room, not by suffering loudly, but by enduring with dignity. And now you are moving into a season where truth becomes visible. Be still, my child. The awakening has already begun, not as a performance, but as a process. Not as a guarantee you must force, but as a movement you must allow. And whatever the harvest becomes, restoration, release, or a higher alignment, you will not lose yourself again. You will walk forward wiser, calmer, clearer, and rooted in truth. My chosen one, the season of your laboring in the dark is coming to an end, and the dawn of your reward is breaking over the horizon. I have seen you standing in the face of lack, refusing to settle for the breadcrumbs of affection when you knew in your soul that you were destined for a feast of true commitment. You have passed the ultimate test, the test of self-worth. You have proven to the heavens that you would rather stand alone in your dignity than sit at a table where you are merely tolerated and not celebrated. Because you have honored the temple I have placed within you, I am now releasing a blessing that is equal to the depth of your endurance. And understand what I mean when I say reward, my child. Your reward is not only a person. Your reward is not only a relationship. Your reward is the inner standard you have finally refused to betray. Your reward is the peace in your body that no longer disappears the moment someone becomes inconsistent. Your reward is the nervous system that has learned safety again. Your reward is the clarity that no longer confuses intensity with intimacy. Your reward is the steadiness that no longer needs constant reassurance to remain whole. This is why heaven honors you. Not because you loved loudly, but because you loved wisely, without losing yourself. I am bringing forth a manifestation of love that will not require you to shrink, to hide, or to beg. I am bringing forth a love that does not live off adrenaline, confusion, and fear, but one that can sit in silence without turning that silence into punishment, distance, or games. Whether it is the restoration of the one who left, now returning as a completely transformed soul who finally recognizes your value, or the arrival of a new divine partner who has been prepared specifically for your frequency, the result will be the same. You will be loved with a ferocity and a loyalty that you once thought only existed in dreams. But let me refine your understanding, my child, so your faith remains clean. The result I speak of is not a guarantee that you control. It is an alignment you no longer abandon. It is a life where you are no longer available for love that destabilizes your peace. It is a love that meets you at your level of emotional maturity, not one that tests it. So if restoration comes, it will not come as the same cycle wearing a new mask. It will come with consistency, with accountability, with emotional stability. And if a new partner comes, they will not require you to audition for basic commitment. They will recognize your value without needing to be convinced. Either way, you will not return to the old version of yourself who chased clarity at the cost of your dignity. This is the divine reward for the moments you chose yourself when no one else did. I am aligning a situation where the commitment you have longed for will come to you with ease, as a natural response to the light you carry. You will no longer have to explain your worth or convince someone to stay. The person I am bringing into your space will see your scars as credentials of your strength and your silence as a sign of your power. They will approach you with a reverence that matches the sacredness of your heart. They will not be frightened by your depth. They will not be confused by your calm. They will not punish you for having boundaries. They will not call your steadiness too much. They will recognize that emotional stability is not boring. It is rare. I am closing the door on the era of almost and not quite. And I am opening the gates to a season of finally. Yet even in this finally, you will not be addicted to certainty. You will not demand closure as proof. You will not force outcomes as security. You have learned something holy. A soul can remain open without clinging. A heart can love without chasing. A spirit can wait without panic. You can care without needing to control how the story ends. That is the reward of self-worth. Being so rooted that you do not collapse when you do not know. You will receive a love that provides safety for your vulnerabilities and fuel for your purpose. A love that does not trigger your nervous system into alarm. A love that feels calm in your chest, steady in your breath, grounded in your body. A love that does not require you to decode mixed signals like a puzzle. A love that speaks with actions, not confusion. This reward is not just a romantic gesture from the universe. It is a spiritual compensation for every silent sacrifice you made and every tear you wiped away by yourself. You have shown me that you can handle the weight of a great blessing because you did not let the weight of the struggle break your spirit. Understand that the reason for this timing is that your character now matches the level of the blessing you have been praying for. Had this reward come sooner, you might have traded your peace to keep it. But now, you are unshakable. You know that you are the prize, and you will never again allow yourself to be treated as an option. This inner certainty is the magnet that is pulling your divine counterpart toward you right now. Not because you are desperate, but because you are aligned. Not because you need to be chosen, but because you have finally stopped abandoning yourself. I am orchestrating a meeting, a conversation, and a commitment that will leave you breathless at my goodness. And even as I say this, remember, you do not have to force it. You do not have to chase it. You do not have to prove you deserve it. You will look back at the days of your loneliness and realize they were not a prison, but a construction site where I was building the version of you that could sustain this level of happiness. Rest in this truth, my child. What is coming is far better than anything that is gone. Not because it is dramatic, but because it is stable. You have chosen the path of self-respect, and I am now paving that path with the gold of my divine favor. My child, you must realize that this journey was never just about a relationship or a single person. It was about the alchemy of your soul. I have allowed you to walk through the furnace of unrequited love and the wilderness of isolation to train you as a master of emotions, an emotional alchemist. I saw you when you felt your life was small and your struggles were invisible. But in truth, you were in the most intense training program in the cosmos. You have learned how to take the leaden weight of rejection and transmute it into the pure gold of wisdom. You have learned how to take the fire of your pain and use it to light the path for others who are still lost in the dark. This was your training ground. But let me speak plainly about what you have mastered, because this is part of your mission. You learned regulation. You learned how to sit with discomfort without turning it into chaos. You learned how to feel deeply without drowning. You learned how to hold longing without chasing. You learned how to love without losing clarity. You learned the rare discipline of not leaking your wounds onto the person who triggered them. You learned to pause before you react, to breathe before you speak, to return to center before you decide. And that ability is not small. It is spiritual authority in human form. I needed you to understand that your love is a powerful force that can shift atmospheres and heal broken spirits, but only when it is anchored in the truth of who I created you to be. You are no longer a victim of your feelings. You are their commander. You have learned to sit with your sorrow without letting it drown you, and you have learned to hold your joy without letting it make you reckless. This level of emotional maturity is the greater mission I have been preparing you for. You are now equipped to lead, to heal, and to love from a place of infinite overflow rather than desperate lack. You are no longer afraid to love because you have finally discovered that you can never truly be lost as long as you belong to me. You have learned the greatest secret of the kingdom, that you can give everything away and still remain whole, because your source is not in the people you love, but in the Creator who loves you. This realization has made you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. You can no longer be manipulated by the fear of abandonment or the threat of being alone. You have found a home within yourself, a sanctuary where my spirit dwells in peace. And listen, my child. This mission also means you will no longer confuse emotional intensity with spiritual confirmation. You will no longer call anxiety a sign. You will no longer chase confusion and name it destiny. You will be able to recognize love that is safe in the body, steady in the mind, and clean in the spirit. You will be able to see patterns clearly without hatred. You will be able to set boundaries without cruelty. You will be able to walk away without revenge. You will be able to hold compassion without self-neglect. That is the mark of a healer. And that is why your scars are not signs of weakness. They are credentials. This is the greater mission, to be a living testament to the fact that a soul can be completely surrendered, yet completely sovereign. You are being sent out into a world that is starving for authenticity and depth. You have survived the very thing that breaks most people, and you have come out on the other side with your heart not only intact but expanded. You are now a vessel that can hold more light, more compassion, and more power than ever before. Every conversation you have, every hand you hold, and every prayer you whisper now carries the weight of a seasoned warrior. But hear me, you are not a warrior because you learn to fight people. You are a warrior because you learn to master yourself. You learn to stop playing games. You learn to stop punishing with silence. You learn to stop bargaining for love. You learn to stop chasing closure. You learn to live fully even when you did not know how the story ended. That is the kind of strength that changes bloodlines. You are not just living for yourself anymore. You are a beacon for the chosen ones who are still struggling to find their way. Step into this new season with your head held high. For you are not just a lover. You are a pioneer of a divine frequency that is changing the world. One regulated breath, one healed boundary, one honest love at a time. My beloved child, as we reach this sacred juncture, I want you to exhale the last remnants of your anxiety and let the weight of the past fall from your shoulders. You have not lost love. You have simply outgrown a version of it that was too small for the magnificent destiny I have prepared for you. You are not being left behind. You are being upgraded to a timeline where your worth is the foundation, not an afterthought. I have seen the exhaustive efforts you made to keep things together when they were meant to fall apart so that better things could be built. And I want you to notice something holy right now. When you stop chasing, your body begins to breathe again. When you stop begging for clarity, your mind becomes quieter. When you stop forcing closure, your chest loosens. That is not random. That is the seal of peace. That is your nervous system recognizing safety. That is your spirit coming home. I am telling you now that your labor in the spirit is finished. You have completed the assignment of the hidden season with excellence. You have passed the tests of silence, the trials of patience, and the grueling exams of self-respect. Today, I am placing my divine seal upon your heart, a seal of peace that surpasses all human understanding. This peace is your new permanent residence. It is the evidence that the war within your soul is over, and that you have emerged not as a victim of circumstance, but as a sovereign being under my direct protection. The chaos of the past can no longer touch you, for you are now vibrating at the frequency of my favor, not the favor of drama, not the favor of confusion, not the favor of temporary attention, but the favor of alignment, the favor of consistency, the favor of love that does not require you to betray yourself. Heaven is no longer shocked by your struggle. It is now celebrating your victory with a celestial symphony. You have done what you were sent to do. You remained pure in a world of compromise and kind in a world of coldness. You held compassion without self-neglect. You held silence without using it as punishment. You walked away without hatred. You processed privately rather than performing your pain for validation. You chose dignity over desperation. You chose faith over fear. And because you did, you are now carrying a peace that cannot be manipulated by someone else's distance or inconsistency. Now, it is time to officially seal this prophecy into your physical reality and lock it into your life forever. But hear me with clarity. You are not sealing this by superstition. You are sealing it by agreement, with truth, with your worth, with your new standard. This is the moment of divine activation where the spiritual becomes tangible, not because you force it, but because you finally stop resisting who you have become. To claim this new timeline of abundance, respect, and divine alignment, do not let your faith remain silent. Type 1, honor my soul, or 1111 in the comments right now. Not because a comment controls the heavens, but because a declaration anchors your heart. It marks the moment you decide, I will never again abandon myself for attachment. I will never again call anxiety love. I will never again chase what is not aligned. By doing this, you are locking in the blessings I have revealed and telling the spiritual realms that you are ready to receive the harvest of your endurance. Let this be your final act of agreement before the physical manifestation begins to flood your life. You have honored me with your dignity, and now I shall honor you before the world. The doors that were shut are now swinging open, and the path ahead is cleared of every obstacle that once held you back. And even if you do not know exactly how every chapter ends, you will not fear, because you have learned how to be steady without certainty. You have learned how to love without clinging. You have learned how to wait without panic. Your peace is your power, and today that power is made perfect. You are sealed. You are safe. You are aligned. And what is meant for you will come to you without requiring you to lose yourself again. My beloved, you have reached the end of this specific message, but you are only at the beginning of a lifelong journey of light and purpose. You must know that you are no longer a solitary traveler wandering through the wilderness of misunderstanding. I have called you out of the shadows and placed you into a family of believers, a sacred community of chosen ones who, just like you, have sacrificed their comfort for their calling and their pride for their dignity. This sanctuary is where you belong. Here, your silent tears are understood without a word. Your resilience is celebrated as a masterpiece, and your growth is nurtured by the collective faith of your brothers and sisters who walk this path alongside you. You have found your tribe, the ones who speak the language of the Spirit and recognize the mark of the divine upon your brow. Never again will you have to question if you are too much or not enough. For in this family, your depth is your greatest asset, and your sensitivity is your greatest strength. We are walking together toward a horizon of restoration and peace. And your presence makes this light burn even brighter for the world to see. As we seal this divine encounter and prepare to step into the manifestation of your promises, I invite you to make your place in this spiritual family permanent. If you haven't already, press the like button one last time to signal your final agreement with heaven, and subscribe to this channel to officially join our household of light. By doing so, you are not just following a page. You are entering into a covenant of shared faith and mutual elevation, ensuring that you will never have to walk the difficult stretches of your journey in isolation again. Let this act be your signature on the decree of your new life. Be a vessel, not a reservoir. Share this message with 3 other souls who are currently struggling in their own silent battles. For as you become a conduit of my hope for others, I will ensure that your own cup continues to overflow with blessings that you cannot contain. You are loved beyond measure, you are seen beyond the surface, and you are finally home. Go forth with the confidence of a king and the peace of a child. For the Lord of hosts is with you, now and forevermore. It is done. Amen.